It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio today. Today we're going to talk about a project that came to light in Clarkdale. It's called the Verde River at Clarkdale project. With us from the Community Development Department is Beth Escobar. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Enlo Locker, the Special Project Planner, is in studio today.
That's correct.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I was telling you we're trying to do more shows that are more current with what's going on in the area, and I saw this a few weeks back. There was a notice that came out that there was going to be a public brainstorming meeting coming up, and that has come and gone now in a week's time. And we thought, well, let's get you in here and find out what this is.
Great.
So who wants to start out? What brought to fruition the Verde River at Clarkdale project?
Well,
They look at each other.
I can start with the beginning. It's part of the Sustainable Clarkdale Initiative.
Okay.
And we have a new Economic Director and Community Development Director at Clarkdale, Jody Filardo. And she started the Sustainable Clarkdale with the mayor and the town manager. And the Verde River at Clarkdale project became a focus of that. And the project is just in the beginning. We are working on a master plan, but it's a visioning plan to see how we can preserve and protect the river, but make it more accessible to the public all throughout the Verde Valley.
Okay, all right. Give us a little more background on this.
Okay.
Exactly what are we talking about here when we talk about sustainable the Verde River in general on this project?
Okay. The intent of the town of Clarkdale is to utilize the 2.2 miles of Verde River that's within the town limits to the betterment of the community as well as visitors and the habitat, if you will, the greenway, but making it more accessible. Currently, there's only one access point, public access point, onto the river within the town limits.
Where's that?
That's at the Tuzagoot Bridge.
Okay.
And it's owned currently by the Arizona State Parks. And that's public access. You can drive down there now and go fishing, or as my boys did growing up, they played paintball out there. But a lot of people don't even know the river's there.
Exactly.
It's in their backyard, and they don't even know it's there or how to get to it.
Right.
And that's part of what the plan wants to do, is to make it more accessible and get more people involved with it so that they will want to preserve it and keep it a flowing river, if you will. Because there's a number of things going on the other side of the hill that may reduce the water flow, and we want to make sure people know that, hey, we've got an all year-round river right in our backyard. We want to keep it that way. And for the habitat for endangered species, you know, we're just downstream from the eagle habitat. We got the desert willow flycatcher, excuse me, along here that the federal government is looking as making this part of a protected area for them. There's just a number of things that are going on that it would be better if we took this first step forward to say, okay, here's the plan. How are we going to make this work for everybody? And that's, like you mentioned about the meeting last week, we had like 40 people there.
That's great.
From a variety of backgrounds, from federal, state, municipal, private entities, individual citizens, wanting to see how they can make it better and preserve what we've got and enhance it, I guess is the term.
So how do we go about that?
Well, the plan is to try and set up, get all the stakeholders, you know, Forest Service, wildlife,
Fish and game. The private property owners, Freeport-McMoran.
Everybody's on the same page, but we're looking at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from a business model. It's called the value chain method, where we look at what's the benefit to those stakeholders. Not, hey, this is a great idea. Can I sell this to you?
Right.
We don't want to go that route. The Jody and the mayor even had special training supported by the Walton Family Foundation to show them, here's a better way to go at a project. How do we get their needs met and not say it's me, me, me. It's you, you, you.
Get the public in here. Okay, what do you want?
Yeah, and what do you want? And that's what this first meeting was last week, was try to understand, well, what do you want? What do you see happening on the river? And we got pages and pages
really?
of
Well, that's
ideas.
awesome. That's big time help
Not
for you.
just kayaking and hiking, but bird watching. And of course, I threw in the paintball, but that's because my kids used to do it.
Sure.
And there was just so many things to enhance and make use of the river. It's just amazing. You're going like, wow, I never thought it that way. So we, I don't know if Beth said or somebody said, we had a brain trust there that, wow, these are great ideas. And we're just busily writing down that they had all those great ideas to make fun.
You're right. The river does cut right through Clarkdale. And I remember as a kid when we first moved here, I'm seeing Peck's Lake here, and I can remember fishing that all the time.
Right.
I can remember where the blacktop ends, as the country song says, and the dirt road begins on Sycamore Canyon.
Right.
There was a great catfishing spot right up in here that I used to sit at and fish. So I'm real familiar with that area. But you're right. A lot of people don't know it's there, despite the fact it rolls right through their community.
Right. These people have been here for 20 years, and I've heard of it. Have you been down to it?
Yeah.
No, they hadn't. How do we get them down there? And that's part of the goal of this plan, is get people aware of it, give them something to, hey, I'd like to go check out that trail, the bird watching, or see what's going on with Tuesday Goot, whatever, and tie those all together. Trails that we could connect into Dead Horse Ranch State Park, those type of things that we're trying to get them.
I imagine part of the thought too is if you're drawing the public into Clarkdale to come to the Verde River and enjoy that section of Verde River, of course, you're obviously hoping that they come into town as well.
Right.
So this is how they tie hand in hand, right?
Right. The idea is if you get them in town, give them something to stay for then. Whether it be a restaurant, some other art venue, a winery, or whatever.
You get the train there?
Yeah, obviously the Verde Canyon Railroad. We even want to work with them, looking at, and we haven't got anything in writing yet or anything, but say kayakers, could they hop on the train, take a one-way trip up the river, drop in somewhere and kayak for several miles?
And this is the brainstorming. This is part of the stuff that came out of the brainstorming?
Right.
And if the community starts to recognize it as a really important resource, it becomes natural for the community to want to protect it and see it preserved.
Build the value in it. Create those links that make the chain stronger.
We should take a break. We have to take our first break already.
Okay.
Yeah. Enlo Lockhart and Beth Escobar with the town of Clarkdale in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We're talking about the Verde River at Clarkdale project. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourgy with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourgy.
He's all boy, he's all of 8 years old, and he's all alone, wishing he had a big brother.
Oh, for my sake.
She's been waiting for a big sister for 47 Saturday afternoons.
Oh, for my sake.
You want to do the right thing, and you like to have fun.
You could use the exercise. Oh, for kids' sake, it's good for the heart.
I'm Janet with Credit Union West. We're proud to invest in our community's youth by presenting Bowl for Kids' Sake. Join us, have fun, help kids. Go to azbigs.org.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio. We're talking Verde River at Clarkdale project today with Beth Escobar and Enlo Lockard. 7 forms of wealth or capital. We wanted to come back and touch on that. Give us an idea what that means.
Okay, part of that business model that we were looking at, trying to implement in this, there's 7 levels or 7 areas that we want to build capital value, and it's under intellectual, individual, social, natural, built, political, and financial. So, for example, in the I got several things here. It's, you know, for example, looking at natural capital, okay? The plan hopes to facilitate free-flowing river access for improved connections with the river. One of the plan's objectives is to work with the diversion dams, which there's 2 in town and 1 at the very edge of town.
I see it right here.
Yeah, there's the Brewer Diversion Tunnel. You're looking at the Hickey Dam and the Cottonwood Diversion Dam.
Okay.
Those all impact the flow of the river. Some of them you have to do portage if you're doing kayaking to get around.
I did not realize there were dams there.
Yeah, it's the people don't even know that, and they're quite extensive.
And this is where I'd be too. This is where I would be fishing in this area right here. So.
Right. And that's the
this
one
is still there?
Yes. It's a diversion dam that provides water to Peck's Lake.
Oh, okay.
And that's we want in this plan wants to work with those owners to maintain their water rights. Don't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
But we want to allow for a more free-flowing river, safe for kayaking. This builds capital as an enhanced riparian area that benefits the natural side of things and creates more value in the river. Another one is the financial form of capital. The town has already got backing, if you will, grants from the Walton Family Foundation and looking at heritage funds to augment building access, infrastructure, things like that, to make this happen and make it more interesting for others. And again, we're building value in the project. Another form is intellectual capital, which we already spoke about, having 40 people come together and just, do a brainstorming session. And we got great interest. And one of them is even from a national group called American Rivers with their Blue Trails activities. A blue trail is basically the kayaking.
Water trail.
The water trail.
Locals?
No, they're from back east, and they've had successful programs on some of the bigger rivers back east, but they're interested in the Verde River. And we are hoping that once the master plan is developed, it'll serve as a model for both upstream and downstream. So our little 2.2-mile river will connect with a longer experience for people who want to use, day trips for kayaking or canoeing as a trail system.
Spend the day on the Verde River, start off in Clarkdale and wind up out there at Camp Verde at the White Bridge and pull out of the water, and there you go.
And working, so we're working with folks that know how to do this. They've done some as Beth mentioned, some very successful ones back east.
So some of these folks you invited in to come to the meeting, or did they just show up? And
well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We did invite them specifically for the meeting on the 16th, but they had been dialoguing with both the mayor and Gail Mabry, our town manager, and Jody Falardo previous to that. And they had come in December to talk to some specific groups, the Prescott National Forest, Arizona Parks, to just educate us about how a blue trail system works.
Yeah, so the town's not doing this plan without experts on the area, or as far as the type of thing that we're looking at here. So that's just one of the many things. So we're trying to build all these different forms of wealth, or capital as I like to call it, and we're trying to partner with, specifically like at Tuzagut Bridge with Arizona State Parks, and we already have a draft intergovernmental agreement with them, which is kind of interesting because the town is going to find the grants, put the money together, put an installation there where even mobility challenged folks can get down to the river at this location, but it'll also set up a building where we can have restrooms, you can have the outfitters come in, if you will, and start their kayak trips there. You park your car there, they drive you upstream, up Sycamore Canyon Road or whatever, drop you off at a point that we have to work out with either private owners or Forest Service as an input point. So there's just a lot of stuff going on there.
And the proposed location for that is the green area right past Tuzigoot Bridge.
Yeah,
okay,
like
just south of the bridge there?
Right.
I think it's 7 acres, something like that, that we're working with.
That is, as I approach Tuzigoot Bridge, I'm looking to the right, in my head, the right sand. It's kind of sandy.
Yes,
it's kind
it
of
is.
a sandy area.
Yeah.
And
you always see people picnicking and
Right.
fishing and whatnot down there in the river.
And that's the only public access.
That is the only spot, right?
Yeah.
Well, there'll be some challenges because the river does sit so much lower than where you're driving along. So those are going to be some challenges.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
To gain the access.
And that's part of working with, like, Freeport-McMoran, private owner, or several private owners along the way to say, hey, here's a place that we found physically might work to get them down to the river. And we have to work out agreements with them. The state legislature has allowed liabilities to be minimized on private owners who grant an easement for a hiking trail or access to the river. So there's all these opportunities.
You must have had quite a few great ideas come out of the meeting then, with 40 people showing up.
It was amazing. It was amazing to me. We had people from Camp Verde, the government in Camp Verde, who obviously have some impact if we do something here because they also have a great resource in their town with the river. But
it's amazing how the river has changed things here, and I've watched that over the years where it wasn't much of, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about the river, and then the Big Chino Basin popped up. I want to say 12 years ago was when I started talking about the Big Chino Basin with Supervisor Chip Davis. And now, you can see how Camp Verde's kind of gotten involved with the river. Cottonwood definitely involved, individual groups involved. And it's really interesting how the river's pulled everybody together, just like we are.
Well, and I think also what's happened to the other rivers in the state. This is the last free-flowing river we have. And
that's scary.
That is scary, but fear sometimes motivates people. So now we're all going, how do we protect this precious resource? And
exactly.
I think that gets a lot of commitment, and it also builds value because we obviously see what a dry river doesn't bring to a community.
Yeah, you might have green trees there for a while, but that's about it. That's all you're going to have. So what were some of the really interesting ideas that you guys heard during this meeting? Do any of them jump out at you?
Well, I went with the kayak on the river, putting your boat on the railroad car and taking it upstream. That was just an interesting thought. Never thought about how do you do that?
Yeah.
And of course, we haven't talked with the railroad to see if that's even feasible, or if they'd have to build a whole other car to make it work.
We are in the beginning phase.
Yeah. Oh, this is very beginning.
But everything's
the fact
wide open.
That, even the town of Clarkdale being 100 years old, here we are just now starting some of this stuff. Is interesting in and of itself that we really want to do this now.
I think the education opportunities that a lot of the individuals focused on having, signs along the river to explain what the natural foliage is, also some of the cultural history, and I think that would be a great way to spend a day, is just going up the river and learn about some of the...
I want to tie into Tuzigoot.
Right.
Well, there's even ruins further upriver, too, if I'm not mistaken. As you drive up Sycamore Canyon Road, you can see the ruins off on the left-hand side.
And try to tie all those together. And there's other economic opportunities that folks brought up about, well, what if we did, not just hiking, and what about biking? What about horseback? What about, and that's not even happening out here now. But there was... I'm trying to think of the funny one now, but I apologize. I didn't.
Lots of ideas. We have to take a break anyways. We have to take our second break, okay? Anlo Lockard's in studio today. Beth Escobar with the town of Clarkdale. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100. or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Scourgy with Yavapai Silent Witness. Marcel Gonzalez was murdered on this spot almost 15 years ago, back in March of 1997. We know that there is somebody out there who knows what happened in the alley that night. Yavapai Silent Witness is offering an $11,000 cash reward for information that leads to the arrest of Marcel's killer. For Yavapai Silent Witness, I'm Steve Scourgy.
Every year, 2 million kids play doctor by taking pills not prescribed to them. Talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. The partnership at drugfree.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. We have just a couple minutes left in the program, and I got one question I got to ask you. And when you look at the maps, and we're looking at maps, so folks that are listening on the radio are going to want to pull up the show on the website and take a look at it, because we do have a map here. This big black scar right here up along the Verde River, that's got to be a huge part of this as well, because it sits right up against the river. What's going on with the Clarkdale slag pile?
Go ahead, Beth.
Well, that property is owned by Clarkdale Minerals, and they're currently in the process of recovering the slag from the pile. As I understand it, they've conducted testing of what materials are in there and how they can get them out for the past 6 years, and now they're ready to move to another level to actually start extracting some of that material. They're operating, that property is owned industrial, and they are operating under a conditional use permit that was granted, I believe, in 2005. And one of the stipulations of the use permit is when the slag pile is completely removed, that little elbow there will be developed as a town park.
Perfect.
So we're hoping that will provide additional access to the river on the north end of town.
Awesome. Now, if people want to participate, obviously there's a lot of time to participate in this, because there'll be other meetings, I'm sure, coming up and discussion about this, and probably for the next year or more, to kind of figure this out and get it put together. How can people go ahead and, say, hey, this is a great idea for you guys for that part of the river?
Well, you can certainly call our office at 639-2500. Get your name on the mailing list. We have an email mailing list of all the participants that want to be involved or want to know what's the next thing going on. And we are trying to assimilate all the stuff that we got in last week to prepare a plan that we're going to present to the town council March 13th.
Correct.
March 13th.
Yeah, because the grant for this part of the project, we have to have that by March 15th. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So this part of it's going to go quite quick then.
Yeah, as far as just the master plan is kind of the base or the foundation for the whole project, where the project will grow out of that, if you will.
Neat. All right. Well, we're out of time. The number again, 639-2500, or I guess they can get more information at clarkdale.az.us also. All right. Beth Escobar.
Thank you.
And the Locker, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I'm Paul David. That's today's show. We'll talk to you again next week.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.